generation is more liberal, more tolerant, more Democrat-leaning than the one before. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
Publicaddress.net is where you find the Hard News blog, and all the other bloggers there as well, and also the Media 7 show on TVNZ7. Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Earthquake Minister Jerry Brownlee will unveil his plan today for the demolition of the Hotel Grand Chancellor in the Christchurch Red Zone, and also the future plans for the port of Lyttelton. But you were down in Christchurch on the weekend and had a little look around yourself.
Yeah. I always go down to talk to the broadcasting school students every year. It was earlier this year because they've had to change things around at the school. And I had a spare afternoon Monday. And David Hayward of Public Address said the best way to sell this would probably be on a bike. So he loaned me a bike, and I rode around the edge of the Red Zone, which was pretty sobering, I have to say. I had seen the pictures of the damage inside the fence, and that looked as I expected it to look, I guess. But I think what shocked me was how desolate it's looking on the right side of the fence. No one wants to be there. And you pretty much get the impression, like along St Asaph Street, which is the south side of the Red Zone, the only people who are there are the ones who can't get out business-wise.
Right.
And there are, there's a furniture shop that I can't imagine that they've sold much furniture, frankly. And really, the only foot traffic that those businesses are seeing are earthquake tourists.
Yeah. So I guess it's a case of, who really wants to work or live next to a dead zone? Yeah,
exactly. And there are for lease and for sale signs up everywhere.
Wow. Optimistic.
Yeah, and at least there's a bit of traffic down St Asaph Street because it's, and there are traffic jams, which are a fact of life in post-earthquake Christchurch.
Yeah.
But there are parts of that perimeter where it just, sometimes you feel like you're the only person there. As I said in the blog I wrote about it, I was on Peterborough Street on the north side. I was ambling down the road on my bike on the wrong side of the road, and an older fella approached me. I could hear him shouting as he came closer to me, and he was basically saying, look, the roads are open for us. And I sort of got his point. It's like it's a city, it has rules, take it seriously.
Yeah.
But his and my bike were the only vehicles in that whole block.
Wow.
There's just not much going on. And it does look like when you look through the fence, I can see how people could feel that there's nothing going on inside either. I think it's probably just that the magnitude of the task is so great, but it really does. There's a kind of stunned silence about the whole thing.
I guess these things do take time, and I guess in our modern society we expect everything, I suppose, to happen overnight. But wouldn't people, equally complain if everything went and happened too quickly and it wasn't considered, and there were long-term ramifications for short-term decisions? Yeah,
absolutely. I agree there, actually, because that's another thing. I've got a very strong impression there that they're going to have to rebuild that city, and they really need to get it right. This is a once-only deal.
Yeah.
And they actually have to get it right. So I don't, I don't think people should mind that they're taking a considered approach to it. But I kind of get the feeling, and this is purely an impression, that everyone's run out of puff. There was an amazing job done in getting people's water and mostly sewage services back on. An enormous amount of silt liquefaction was cleaned up off the streets. They got the roads basically viable. The roads are all pretty bumpy, around a lot of Christchurch. And now they're on to the big, long jobs that just aren't going to be done that quickly. And
would it be fair to say that there's a lot of people that still don't even know if they want to be part of the city?
No, exactly. And particularly of the inner city. One thing that I hadn't quite realised till I got there is that a lot of people in Christchurch have not been into the centre of the city since the earthquake, because there's nothing there for them. The only reason they would go in would be to look at it, basically.
Yeah.
And inner city businesses want to get out. There are people, and David Hayward was telling me about one of his neighbours who just has absolutely no confidence in anything good happening, and as soon as he gets his Earthquake Commission money, he's going to Australia. And there probably are a few of those. You can see how this would be the phase where people are just feeling like it's all too much to deal with, and the easiest thing is to get out.
So it's hard to rebuild if you don't know who you're going to take with you on the journey.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But I think the one thing that has cheered people greatly is Roger Sutton of Orion, the power company, who has been impressive right through both the earthquakes. He's fronted for that company. He's made sense. He's sounded like he has a plan. He is now the chief executive of CERA, the Christchurch Earthquake Reconstruction Authority.
And Prime Minister after that?
Well, who knows? He is an enormously impressive guy, and as David pointed out to me, he's also an engineer, and that's a good thing as well. I think what's less clear is the vision of the political leadership. And Jerry Brownlee has had already a little spate of saying things that he's subsequently seemed to regret. So,
well, Jerry today is going to make an announcement about the future of the Littleton port. I'm puzzled as to what that announcement might be. I mean, isn't it a given that the port will just carry on and it will, rebuild and operate? I mean,
yeah, you would think so. The port's working at the moment.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Unless they have an exciting new plan, and that would be great. But I don't think that Littleton is so much the problem. I mean, I didn't even get out to the eastern suburbs of Christchurch when I was down. I've got friends who live in New Brighton, and that just sounds still so grim. The scale of the task is just absolutely daunting.
I'd imagine the decision around the Hotel Grand Chancellor will help move things along, perhaps in the red zone. Once they get that building down,
that it will become safer. To be there. Because when you look through the fence, there are a lot of buildings that look to be fine. Some of the old brick terraces are clearly screwed, including sadly Whiskey Galore. The best whiskey store in the Southern Hemisphere. That was sad. But there are people who want to get in, and this is something you hear from Christchurch people a lot as well, is that it's getting crazy that people whose entire lives are inside the red zone can't get in. And we saw those incidents of people's offices being demolished before they can get in and retrieve anything. That must be really hard.
Let alone the flats and whatnot. I mean, I used to live above C1, and I just cannot imagine not being able to get in there and get my stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot of people's stuff left there. So, if it ever happens again, I think the message that people have got is, when you leave for the first time, make sure you take everything you need.
Yeah.
Because people have had those, okay, you've got 10 minutes.
It makes you think, if you live anywhere in a central city above a shop or something, have a bag that's always packed, maybe with some important stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in Wellington.
Because you may not ever get back in.
There's a few lessons here for people who live in the CBD in Wellington.
I mean, an example of that is Alec Bathgate, who's now a graphic designer, was half of the Tall Dwarfs. He was never able to get back into his office. He lost his in the first earthquake.
Yeah.
Fortunately, had off-site backup, but there's a lot of people in that position too. It does anyway. The impression that you get is that people are exhausted by it, and that there's not that much momentum. And there are signs attached to the fence around, saying, "Look, nothing's happening." So I think there's a degree of anger, and that's going to take some real political management. Even if the government does the best job it can possibly do, it's managing people's feelings and expectations is not going to be easy.
Not indeed. Well, thanks very much for that, Russell. The post on this as well, and your description of your experience there is up at publicaddress.net, the Hard News blog. And tomorrow on the show on Media 7?
On Media 7 we're looking at the political lie.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good-o.
Yes. Thanks. Sometimes it has its virtues, some of the people we're talking to say so.
Brilliant.
Yes. Okay.
Right, cheers.
See ya.
Russell Brown at publicaddress.net, Media 7 show, TVNZ 7.